Welcome to Breaking MedTech. I am Ryan. This is Cope. His real name's Mark. I'm not allowed to call him that. On our show, we discuss real challenges, strategies, and innovations in medtech sales and marketing. We're going to speak candidly and hopefully give some insights and practical advice to help small medtech companies and startups navigate the sales and marketing side of this constantly evolving industry. So let's get into it, right? So today we're going to talk about websites.
Right. The very first place people go to look for your company when you say, oh, I'm with blank surgical. The first thing they do is go to the website.
Do you think, this is a legit question, do you think most founders realize that?
I don't. I don't think so. I mean, you would be more knowledgeable on that than me. But based on oh, yeah, we should work on that. Oh, yeah, we need to get a better website. Sort of is becoming today like, oh, yeah, we need to remember to put our pants on before we go to work today is what it feels like that level of importance to me. And I don't really understand it.
No, well, and what's funny is like, I think I have to, I assume when you mean like, I have to put my pants on, it's important. Right?
Yeah, like you shouldn't be going to work without your pants on.
So I look at it and think they might think that like, oh, I have to put my pants on, it's important, but like, oh, it's just something I do. Like, it doesn't really matter what pants I'm wearing. I just need to put pants, because that's how I look at it, right? I think a lot of them they put their pants on, so they make a website, all right? And some of them, they typically do one of two things. They go and spend a lot of money, right? For like a small med tech company. I'm not talking like,
give me a sense.
Comparatively speaking.
What's a lot of money in that example?
If you're a small med tech, like you're pre-rev, I've heard stories of pre-rev med tech companies going and spending like $35,000 on a website.
So you're a pre-revenue company, meaning you're living off of your investors' money, and you spend $35,000 for a website that might be functional, means you're showing up to work wearing pants, in using our analogy, but it doesn't do what websites should do from a marketing standpoint. It's like, tell me about that.
So I actually think it actually might be like a really good website, because like if you're spending $35,000 on a website, you're probably getting a really good website. The issue would be that like if you're a pre-rev company, your messaging or the way you're going to phrase your messaging or the updates that you're going to need to make your company, like your website is like a living organism in my mind. Okay. So if you're spending $35,000, that company that you're probably using to make your website is going to be on like a $5,000 retainer a month to continuously make updates to your website when you need to change stuff. And that's where I go.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Okay.
And that is something that I think a lot of SaaS companies do. So like the software, but like those are companies that, I mean, very rarely do I see like medtech companies who raise like large amount. Like you see some of these SaaS, like when they're in like Series A, like these early series, like they're raising a lot of money off of
like what, like
an idea,
10 million.
Yeah, just like off an idea, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna do
right.
It's like it's not logical, right? But they can go and build that, and their sales model is very different. Like a lot of their stuff is built around a website. Like that's not the case with medtech companies. So like when I look at companies who spend $35,000, it's not that you don't get a really good website. It's just, is your company ready for? Are you in the stage where you need that type of website?
Well, course correct. That's interesting. And SaaS, by the way, for anybody listening that doesn't know what that means, is software as a service, right?
Yeah.
So capital S, little a, capital S. So the way I look at this is here's what I see. Tell me what you think of this. I see companies, regardless of whether they spend $5,000 or $6,000 or $35,000, they have a good website, but right, like nobody defines what good is. And I think they think it's a digital business card.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how to get in touch with us. Here's what we sell. And that's not what it is. It was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Now they shouldn't think of it that way. I don't know what the analogy is, but they should be thinking of it as a money-making machine, a source of education for customers, a differentiator in a couple different ways. But like, people don't look at your business card. They go to your website to see, and what are the three things that I got trained by you and Don Miller and a couple of other people. They go to that website and what's the caveman test?
Yeah.
And most small med device websites fail this test.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? What are the three things?
Like, how do you help me? How do you help me survive?
Yeah, it's like, because it's sort of the reptilian part of your brain. It's what do you do?
Yeah.
How do you help me? And what should I do next?
Yeah. Right.
Like, and it's all based on like the way the brain skims stuff and looks at it, high level bullet points. And if you look at it and go, I'm not sure what they do, or it has a bunch of words
mm-hmm.
that are confusing, that are the dumber, more primeval part of your brain goes, I don't know what this, move on. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah,
right?
that's so. Like if you go to a website, or like I've gone to websites and I'm like, I don't know what they do. I definitely don't. They're using a bunch of words. They want to sound cool. They don't really know what they do. It's very clear they don't know what they do.
Right.
And I would almost go like, if you don't know what you do, and I think I'll give you a perfect example. I've asked a handful of founders or sales leaders or marketing leaders at these companies, and I'll go like, your website's super vague.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we did that on purpose. And I'll be like, what do you mean you did it on purpose? And they're like, well, we didn't know really what we were going to do or wanting to do. So we just kept the website vague so we could pivot if need be. We didn't want to commit to something. And it's dumb, right?
Yeah. I mean, I understand the rationale.
I understand.
I don't agree with the decision.
I don't agree with the decision because you're basically going like, well, I'm just going to say to the world, I don't know what we're doing, so we're going to be super vague. And like, that's what you're putting out to the world. Or like this idea of like nobody's going to go to your website and go, hey, they used to do this and then they pivoted and now I don't trust them anymore.
Right.
Right. Like,
right.
That's not how people understand that sometimes businesses pivot. Sometimes they it's a very out of left field example, but like, do you know what 3M stands for?
No idea.
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. Okay. That's what 3M stands for. That means at one point, 3M was all about Minnesota mining and manufacturing.
I like that.
Is that what they do anymore?
I don't believe so.
No, they do. They might, part of their business might be about mining and manufacturing.
Well, if you think about it.
You could change though. That's the point.
If you think about it, you said something about like people think about the company, then they pivoted.
Yeah.
No, they don't. But they and I know what you
nobody ever.
They're not thinking about it.
You're not that important. Like,
it's literally like they're looking. It's like, oh yeah, somebody came by, somebody sent me an email, and it's blank surgical.com. I wonder what they do, and can it help me? So they go to the website, and if you're super vague, they're like, oh, well, they move on. Like, at no point do they say, well, I wonder what they were doing 5 years ago. I'm certain they've evolved. I wonder how they did that. No. They know.
I would say, like, if you don't believe me, just go back and go through it and go like, I don't do that. And that's like that's a good rule of thumb. It's like, do you do that? No.
Yeah, and you know where you go when you need to do that? You go to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't go to the company's website. You're like, oh, 3M, Minnesota Minerals and Manufacturing. Huh, that's interesting. But nobody cares when they go to your website to learn
what you're going to do right now to help them.
Today. Yeah. Or you don't help them. They get to make that decision. But if they don't know what you do, they don't use you,
buy
from you, want to talk to you, care about you.
Yeah.
You can tell them about Minnesota manufacturing in 2 years when you have a conversation with them. But they don't care right now. They do not care.
All they want to know is right now, how are you going to help me survive? What do you do? How are you going to help me survive? Right. And those are two really important things. So when you look at a website and you look at like the hero, and the hero is like that top image or top section that you see where it has like the, Donald Miller talks about like having an aspirational identity. So what are you going to transfer into? Sometimes I think that's a good idea. Sometimes I think it's a little bit easier with like consumer products to do an aspirational identity than like a B2B product. But like you want to clearly explain what you do. And if you don't clearly explain in that hero what you do, if your hero is something along the lines of like synergizing healthcare to make human connections more meaningful, I promise you 90% of the audience who you want to buy your product is going to go like,
I don't know. I like synergizing.
This is I can curse on here. What the shit is that?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So back to what you just said. When you went to the website, you were talking about an aspirational identity. So you're saying like when they go to blanksurgical.com or blankmedical.com or whatever it is, you're saying the image that pops up.
No, like
or
the words.
The words. Okay.
Or if you're good, the words and the image that pop up are, because the nice thing about you're an English major, a picture's worth it. Like, so sometimes pictures.
I just heard a great podcast yesterday that it's 1,000 words is the famous saying. Some psychosocial studies done at high promising academic facilities is now saying it's one picture is worth 60,000 words.
I'm not allowed into those facilities, but I believe it.
It's actually a restraining order. But go on.
You're able to. I was listening to a copywriting podcast, and it was a guy who does professional. Literally, all he does is copywriting for websites, and he works with like very, 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 very large companies. Yeah. They bring him in and they pay him godly amount of money, and he's like, sometimes a picture or video or an icon can explain what I would have had to spend a page writing. So yeah, pictures matter, but like they better be good pictures. But so when you land on a website, you want to know exactly how they're going to help you. You want to know what the plan is. How do I get this? I get mad. You get mad at like the nondescript contact us in the top right corner. That is just like that's not driving anyone. It's not calling anyone to action. No. That's why they call it a call to action. It's like not telling anyone what to do.
So let's walk through that. Let's walk through the 2, 3, 4 things that a good website does. That's very simple. That if somebody listened to this and they're like, hey, you know what? I should look at our website. I wonder if it does those 2, 3, 4 things. So what would you say is the first thing that you would make everybody do if you were the czar of websites, specifically in this space?
Clearly explain what you do and how you help your ideal customer.
So give me an example if you can. I'm putting you on the spot. But I think this
is... Do you want a non-med device example?
Sure. Perfect.
All right. So a non-med device example would be like if I was a home builder.
Okay.
Like, or actually, landscaper. We'll go landscaper.
Yeah.
If I was a landscaper that did like $150,000, $200,000 landscaping jobs, beautiful landscaping that makes your friends jealous.
Right. That's a perfect. Right. So then I look at that and go, that's the aspirational part too, right? So I look at it and go, oh, these guys do landscaping, and they're high end because it makes my neighbors jealous of me.
That make your friend
there.
And people might go like, oh, I don't know if I want to write that. And I guarantee you, if you put a hero that said beautiful landscaping that makes your friends jealous, and then you had like either a rolling video or a picture of just like a drop dead gorgeous high quality, not taken on like your iPhone type of thing, like go and spend $500 and go hire a photographer to come in and do something, or like drone footage.
Yeah.
You would get so many converts.
Yeah, you'll notice.
And then a button right underneath it, the call to action. What would be the next? Schedule a consult or schedule a quote or like
Right.
design your future, like something that's going to go like,
Yeah. We're not, by the way, we're not sculpturing God's green acre, no offense. We're not sculpturing God's green acre in celebration of humanity's dominate. I don't know what any of that means.
yeah.
What would we say it was? What was the one you gave?
Beautifully designed landscaping that makes your friends jealous.
Right. Beautifully designed landscaping. Everyone who speaks the English language understands that. You translate it to Spanish, it's easy to understand it. And the picture in the background is a beautifully landscaped grounds. So people go, oh, that's what you do. Cool. Like that with your brain. So,
but like if I was, let's say I was doing,
but I agree with you.
Like medical device,
yeah,
right? It would be like,
so this is where it gets hard because everybody starts to go to the product.
Okay, so but I would go like there's an orthopedic company that I know is about like preservative based ACL reconstruction. Okay. And like, you're better off going like basically going ACL, like preservative based ACL.
Yeah.
Like products or like whatever.
We preserve ACLs.
Yeah.
Like
we help you preserve ACLs.
We help you preserve ACLs.
Like
boom.
Like I
Done.
know, and it's super simple. And like the thing that people always say with medical devices is like, well, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can say stuff as long as you're not lying and as long as you're telling the truth. Like you could say.
You can't say it if you're not indicated for ACLs.
Yeah.
But you can say it if you are.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. You're not saying an ours is better.
Yeah. You're not.
No, you're not doing. Or you're saying, and you can use it in neurosurgical cases for. No, that's illegal and out of indication and out of your FDA clearance. But we help you preserve ACLs is totally within label, and I challenge anyone to contact me and tell me where I'm wrong.
So yeah, so if I was a small med device company, right, and I was trying to design a website for, because that's who we're talking about. If I was a small med device company, I was trying to design a website, and I didn't know where to start, or I'm currently existing, and I'm like, I don't get any leads off my website, because you should be getting leads off your website. If you're not, I'm looking at you, camera. If you're not getting leads off your website is not doing what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You might not get like, I'm not saying you should get thousands of leads off of your website. You should be getting a steady flow of leads off your website. You should have at least, if you're brand new, you don't know what you like, nothing else, you're not started, you're not like, you're pre-rev, go and spend $250 on Webflow or $200 on Elementor, or don't use Wix.
Yeah, well, we'll put the tech stack, as the cool kids call it,
of like,
let's tell them like what are the things that what their website should be doing.
If you have nothing else, okay,
yeah,
you should have a hero image that says,
I don't know what that means.
Like
right?
the hero, the top section, your number one section.
Okay.
And whatever designer you're using, don't go and hire a firm. If you're pre-rev.
So you're not talking about the top banner across. So you're saying when I go onto that website, Google's would be the little box that says Google and search here, or whatever it says. That's it. That's what you're talking about. That part of your website where you land.
Yeah, when you land, the first thing that you see, not the navigation bar, the first thing that you see, you should have a very clearly laid out, very plain text. If you're just starting out, here's what we do, here's how we help. So like,
we help you preserve ACLs.
It would be like whatever your product is that preserve ACLs.
Right.
With like something along those lines. You would have multiple calls to action, direct calls to action on your site. And a call to action is schedule a call, schedule a demo,
download something.
Right.
Yeah. There's varying degrees of how good those things should be from what I've read, because you've taught me some of this and I've learned it. But you have to have one, and it should be
So if you
in a certain spot, highlighted. What would you suggest?
You should always have one on the top right corner.
Okay.
Of direct call to action of like schedule a call. Don't put contact us. Don't put any of that. Put schedule a call or schedule a demo. Make it very active language. That would be
Yeah.
So you would want to have that. Then you want to have a section that basically is like, here's what sucks about the way that you're currently doing it, and here's, maybe a sentence of like, our surgical technique and equipment preserves the natural ACL, giving the patients the ability to rehabilitate. Like
whatever your actual sort of labeling sense is. So you're saying land on this that says, here's what we do, and then the next section as you start to scroll down.
Yep.
So in the upper right hand corner, you're going to have whatever your call to action is, and then as you start to scroll down, you're going to start to tell a story.
Yeah.
And the story is you said the part that sucks, right?
Yeah. Here's what sucks about what you're doing.
Here's the problem. Ever have this? Ever struggle with that? Okay. And then
again, if we're talking super simple, you should have because you probably don't have any stats that like, it's not like you're used at like Mayo Clinic or like, so now like how to get started, I would probably, or like a plan, and you would probably do so it should be really simple. So like if somebody's going to trial it or how they're going to look at it, like it could be something as like simple as like schedule the demo. We'll do a rep will come in, we'll show you this, blah, blah. Like you should have a clear plan of how somebody can go from being on this website right now to actually using your product.
Yeah.
And it should be very simple. And it just kind of closes a loop in the back of somebody's mind.
I do think, it's easier to say, make it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
But like in reality, when you sit there and do it, it does require a lot of thought. But I would say like the first time somebody does this, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be better than what you're doing now.
Yeah, and the reason why I say keep it simple is because I know getting from point A to point B is like a big journey, and there's a lot of steps involved. But when you make it more complicated than it needs to be, it just kind of scares somebody off.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to go into extreme detail because it will scare someone. So then the final...
We don't want to scare people.
Yeah, and the final thing, again, bare bones basic, you're pre-rev, you don't really know, like you're still trying to figure it out. You can have features, but I would do it in like a feature benefit way. Like don't go like straight up 3.5 millimeter torque.
Yeah, Homie's got multiple fixation options.
Resist that because that's not what someone's gonna want to see or hear. But like if you're pre-rev, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're gonna go. You're trying to figure it out. You know that you're gonna adjust it along the way. That would be just create a landing. If you created a landing page, because a lot of these companies, when you look at it, they really only have a landing page. They then fill in a bunch of other pages. They have a blog that they abandon after 2 posts. They have an About Us page that literally nobody cares about. They have a Contact Us page, which is really, you're still keeping your Contact Us page. It's just now becoming your schedule a demo or schedule a call page. Maybe they have some weird page, but like you don't have to make it more complicated than it needs to be, because the fact is that you should be changing your website if you're that size company, and that like you're going to constantly make changes to your website every quarter. You should be doing that every single quarter, especially at that point.
Yeah. You
should be making changes to your website, so you need to design it with that in mind and go like, here's where I'm starting today. But one Monday, the first Monday of a quarter, we sit down and we update our website. And again, med device world, you can update your website. Don't let regulatory tell you can't update your website.
Right, they're wrong.
You have to go through a process. It's a little bit more difficult than like if I wanted to change my website or you wanted to change your website.
Yeah.
You have to go through a process. I know. I changed my website.
On the med device
Yeah,
side, you actually do it
this
for a med device company. Yeah.
You just have to go through a process. Yeah, there's paperwork to fill out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like if I could just go and go like, oh man, I want to change some words and hit publish. You do have to go through a process, but
Right.
it's definitely, if you go, hey, this is what we do every Monday.
Yeah.
The first Monday after a quarter ends, we sit down on the website, we see if it needs to make any changes. We have a 4-hour working session. We do everything.
Yeah, and it goes through.
And then the
quality and regulatory
regulatory's
process.
there.
Yeah, and it's up and active 30 days later, let's say, in some of the big companies. You and I could do it in a day.
Well, you could even get it up in, like, for smaller companies, even if you have a regulatory process, design it with regulatory in the room, get everybody in the same room for 4 hours, go through everything. You still have to fill out your forms, but now it's become a formality with them signing off on stuff. And you could probably have it done in a week.
Yeah, it depends on the size of your company, but Rise absolutely right. It drives me nuts. Like, this drives me crazy. So when I go to these websites and I'm like, I don't understand what they do, and it makes me want to smash it, because then people are asking me, because I'm selling for them, and they're like, hey, I went to the website and that's cool. I didn't really know what it was, and I'm like, yeah, it's because it stinks. And the thing that you talk to, I want to circle it back to these small companies that end up having to pivot, right? If you sit down at that meeting every quarter, let's say, and Ryan's running our marketing, I'm running our sales, and I'm like, Ryan, here's where we're winning. Here's where people are either buying us or scheduling, because the problem we thought we solved is a little bit different. Here's how they're saying it, and here's what we're finding. That's what happens at that meeting, and then that's when we change our website reflects our marketing message and our sales message to reflect the latest feedback we have. Now, it's not yesterday's meeting and one person told me something. It's, I'm hearing this at multiple appointments. We've changed how we present. Our website should do the same, all within label and on label and regulatory. But like, that's what we're talking about. Your website needs to constantly reflect the new learnings you've gotten from being out interacting with customers, right?
And that's
what you mean.
Yeah, that's the whole point, and that's why you don't go spend $35,000. That's what I would even go, like, if you're pre-rev, don't even go spend $5,000, right? Because the constant cost and maintenance of doing that becomes overwhelming, and it's, unless you have it budgeted, you're just not going to do it. So what you should do is, like, just start as plain and simple as possible. Make sure that you make a beautiful website that says what you're supposed to say, that like resonates with your audience, and then as you continuously get feedback, make it a habit to constantly update it and change the way that you describe it. Could just be we're talking about, like, when, like, you might just change 3 words, but those 3 words might make the world a difference. Or maybe you thought people cared about this one benefit, but now after 90 days of talking to people, you actually find out that that's ranked number 3 and people actually care about this benefit way more. Like, those are tiny things. And the goal should be, like, you should be getting leads off your website. If you're not getting leads off your website, then your website is not.
Well, and that's, we should talk about that at another time, but that's because that's a whole sort of concept that I never understood. But like, that your website should make you money, that your website should generate warm leads and legitimate warm leads, not contact us. And I mean, but to do that, it has to reflect your sales and marketing message. And to do that, you have to know what it is, and then you have to simplify it. Yeah. It's much easier to say it than do it. I believe me, but I understand that. But that's the thing. Your website should be part of your sales and marketing campaign. Okay, so that's been our latest episode of Breaking MedTech. Did we break any? I think we broke some things. I think we need to break more stuff. I'm gonna be more like a bull in a china shop as we get going in this. But if you have next steps, Ryan, or anything you would suggest, calls to action here for people who listen to this and say, man, I'd like to learn more.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll throw some tech stack stuff, like, hey, if you're building your own website, here's what you should go build. If you are not building your own website and you hire somebody else, or you've already hired a designer and they built a website, here's some things that you should maybe go tell them.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, if you're out there and you just don't know what you're doing and you don't know where do I start, how do I do, what do I say, what's wrong with my website, I reach out to me.
Yeah.
You can schedule something with me. I love nothing more than sitting down, looking at other people's websites and
Making fun of them.
and making fun of them,
No.
or going like, hey, like, you're saying this wrong. Like, what are you actually trying to do here? I might be a little harsh sometimes because I am, but like, I'm going to give you actionable ideas. Like, here's how I would do it to be a little bit better. But
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. He'll be gentle, I promise. Okay, thanks. That's been Breaking MedTech. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.